program is part of the Scene Project's podcast network. The Scene Project features interviews with independent musicians, comedians, and artists from across the Midwest. Become part of our community and support local art wherever you are. Well, welcome into a very exciting episode of The Scene. I am your host, Bubba Starts, and with me today is Sierra Fluit. Sierra, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Well, you are a songwriter. You said that you used to be, but that's not a reality now, is it? But you reached out to me asking some questions about the music scene here in South Dakota. And instead of just answering those questions privately, I figured, what the heck? Let's get you on a podcast and show you to the world.
Okay.
Sierra, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you come from and what you do?
Well, I started off by growing up in Minnesota, and then I lived in the Twin Cities after 2-year tech college. Didn't really get much of a chance to try to express myself as far as music and singing wise, because when it comes to living on your own, it's a reality check. You got to make ends meet if you want to get by. So, but then after that, moved back home, and then I heard my brother was doing his thing with his band, and I thought I could go learn from him. But then again, reality set in, and with his personal issues, I wasn't able to learn much from him, unfortunately. But that didn't stop me from trying to do what I can for myself. You know, I was able to get a trade in welding, and I made pretty good money. So, and during that time, I was taking up lessons on my own. I was learning how to play the piano and guitar. So, and then life got busy after that. I know my story is probably going to sound a little sad, but you know, I'm going to be raw with you here. Then I met my husband, and wonderful man, by the way, very encouraging. He keeps telling me to never give up. So then we got married, and a few years later, we moved down here to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, to be near his family for medical reasons. His family lives here in this area, and I get a lot of help and support from them with his situation. So it's been a big blessing ever since we got down here. But now it seems ever since I got down here, I've been getting a little more encouragement and a little more opportunities to express my talent, which is my voice. My musical talents is a little rusty right now, so I should probably get back into practicing, but I still want to keep going as much as I can, even though I got to be realistic. And if I want to have a roof over my head, I got to work. So, but yeah.
Well, plenty of welding jobs around. That's actually the trade I was in most recently as well.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it, actually. I mean, it was like artwork. So welding is art. I did not regret that. I just got tired of being paid peanuts on the assembly line, and I didn't imagine myself to be a welder, but I went ahead and I did 2 weeks training on it, and after that, it became great.
Yeah, I had 2 weeks in prison. That's where I learned how to weld.
Nice.
They popped me out. I got a job. I was making, $16 an hour. God, that was back in 2018. I was pretty excited to have that. And
Yeah.
and then like you said, working the assembly lines, I think I was making $25 an hour. And I was just
Yeah.
like, it's not enough, man. I got to drive an hour every day commuting and doing all this. And it's like, it's really sucking my soul out, man. And I'm in debt up to my eyeballs anyway. And I just couldn't do that anymore because I needed to express myself. I've always been a singer. I've always been a songwriter, as far back as I can remember now. And it's always been that passion at different times of my life. It has been my sole base of income. You know, now having 3 children at home, not really able to just say, hey, I'm going to throw the case on the street and play for whatever falls in there.
Yeah.
So I understand the struggles, but the need to express ourselves is so important. And I think in this day and age, we're starting to find out just how important that is on a very basic human level. We all need
Exactly.
that. And
Yes.
whatever outlet that emotion comes through, you really have to pursue that and find new ones too, to
Mhm.
always be searching. So I
Yeah.
appreciate your gumption for wanting to learn new instruments and to do those kind of things. It's not easy. I learned how to play guitar when I was a kid and I had all the time in the world, right? I was 12, 13, through high school and playing and I never really dedicated that much time to practicing either. I got
Yeah.
really fortunate to be raised around it, got good quick, and got to this plateau where I was like, oh, I can get laid. That's good enough, and that was good enough for like 2 decades until I met my wife. And then it was like, okay, do you want to have a career in this or is it a hobby? And for me, I
Mhm.
tried it as a hobby while I was working the welding job. It was a hobby. We were doing it on the weekends. We're going out, we'd have fun with our friends, play the little shows. But the more I was doing that, the more I was falling into like, this, you need this. You need this to be able to tell your story and to be able to
Yes.
get that part of you that you have buried so far inside. It's got to come out. And it's
Yes.
taken a lot more than just like one song or one show or what it's taken. We have 100 episodes plus of this project out now. Having conversations is kind of my outlet. Talking with new people and meeting, people just like you, Sierra, who have a different story to share, finding the similarities in our story and being able to share in that moment. That's what my life is now. And I couldn't be more thankful that life has brought me to this point.
Yes. Yeah. And a little side story I want to add to that here. I used to have a fiance who he was a really good rapper. And I supported him the best that I could. But all he cared about was getting famous. And it was just getting to his head way too much. He didn't have reality on in his head about how he should get by realistically, you know what I mean? And I I just couldn't do it anymore with him because I mean, if we were going to get married, how were we going to get by financially, And I needed that kind of security, but all he kept thinking about was getting famous. And as much as he was a good rapper, I just couldn't do it. We had to go our separate ways. And so, yeah, I mean, I to do this um kind of business, this kind of fun, you know, you have to keep reality on the side, because if you want to get, like you said, you got to have a roof over your head. If you want to be able to keep your food in your fridge, you got to have some income, and besides making your whatever artwork you possess, your mainstream income, because in reality, it's not always like that,
Well, and it's
you know?
become such a minimalized commodity now, right? I mean, there is no
Mhm.
money in music besides performing. For me, the only time that I make money from my music is when I'm going out and performing, and that requires me to leave my house, put gas in the vehicle, haul all my equipment there. Like, so
Yes.
like the $200 or whatever, that you're making that day, minus all those expenses, you made $50. That's not paying the mortgage.
My daughter's eczema was out of control. She couldn't sleep because she was scratching her whole back, her bottom, her elbows, her knees, everything was just covered. I'm pretty sure it's genetic for her, but I know that there are things in our environment that are exacerbating it or making it worse, right? It could even be things like laundry detergent, the wash she was using in the bath, lotions I was using on her. I saw my friend posting that her little one was also struggling with eczema and that she used this special lotion. Right here, the best stuff that we have tried so far. We did try other lotions and creams that worked, but they broke the bank. We literally could not afford to buy them on a regular basis to keep up with how much she was having eczema breakouts. But this stuff was great, super affordable, safe for her super sensitive skin. She's only 2, and I have no hesitations of putting this on her, and it's been the best thing that has worked so far.
No. So, and you got to look on the positive side of things when it comes to working normal jobs because, you know, if you've got the free time, do the stuff that makes you happy. You know, if you've got the ability to go out onto the street and play your guitar on the side to show off your creativity and sing, you know, nothing wrong with that, you know. Do what you can to make your soul happy. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, and that's what I think all artists, we are all struggling is how do we make our lives and our art worth something? And I've
Mhm.
spoken exactly those words, like just make my life worth something, right?
Yeah.
And I had someone that finally recently that I had a conversation with is like, well, you've already done that. We'll just teach you the ways in which that like your life is already you've already created that value. We'll show you the avenues of how that finally becomes something that is paying the bills. You know, I have a wonderful woman that I'm married to, my wife Danielle. She's been fully supportive, and not just in the supportive sense of like, oh, you know, good job, honey. Of she's been in this with us up to the nuts too, you know, like which I'm sure you were with your ex fiance. Like, so yeah, you have a very unique story to tell as someone who's a supportive, you know, partner of someone in this game. That's hard, if not even harder, because you don't get any of the good feelings walking out on that stage either.
No, you still don't if you don't have a plan.
No, it's very
And
hard. What a unique story you have, Sierra. I'm really glad we decided to record our conversation today.
yeah, I'm kind of glad too. I feel like I'm contributing to helping artists out there that are struggling, you know, because this is the reality. But, you know, it's not as grim. You don't have to make it as grim as mine almost kind of sounds. No, I'm choosing to still get out there as much as I can and express myself.
Well, and you kind of spoke to how you have to like put reality to the side if you're trying to get famous because that's not even a reality that most people live in, right? Like you have to
Yeah,
be
and
delusional.
yeah,
And
and yeah.
well, and from someone who is delusional, that's all I was asking.
Well, I mean, I try my best to, you know, keep the reality on the side because I have autism myself and, you know, I that's there's a little bit of delusion here and there, but I try my best. Like it would be amazing to, you know, just have everybody in the world look at you and they go, but here's another thing about being famous. It's not as great as it's cracked up to be. You know, when you've got the paparazzi following you and you can't get one decent amount of privacy, and then it depends on like what company you sign a contract for because you don't know what kind of a company that you're gonna sign your life away to, and then they make your music career a living hell.
Well, and they try to change who you are and who you
Yeah,
are that got there.
exactly.
Sierra, that's the beautiful thing about the internet to me, because I've always been fiercely independent. There's not a
Yeah.
record contract you can put in front of me, especially now, that's gonna change my mind from just like we got it. Because what we've built, and especially, you know, I've been doing this for 25 years.
Yeah.
We've built a community around us. We have a pretty solid fan base, and we have people, but they're not all because of the music. It's because of the way we show up on our community. Just last week we were in Rapid City, or yeah, I think it was last week. I don't know. What a weird portal the holidays are, right? You walk through and it seems like you're there for a month, but um we just did a benefit show, raised $2,000 for a family whose daughter, you know, recently diagnosed 2-year-old with type 1 diabetes. And she turned around, the mother of our, you know, our friend Haley, she turned around and took half of the money and bought meter readers for other families. You know, she bought 10 of those to spread out. So it's like, that's what people are seeing of us now, right? People are seeing
Yeah.
our acts and our deeds rather than just the words that we wrote and the music that, and we made this great song. And yeah, the songs are fun, but it's really about the good that we can do in our communities. And you don't have to have a big community to then support that. Because there's no money in record sales or streaming, who cares if you have 1 million streams? You made 12 cents. So are you able to build a community around you that those people are going to support you? Now, whether that's like a Patreon page, or whether that's just you're playing live shows and they buy tickets, or they're supporting you in some other way, business owners that are contributing to sponsorships, or whatever it is. There's so many other ways to make a career in music now. And a lot of the tools are out there as well, where they were used to be kind of behind that iron curtain of the record industry. All of that information is out in the open now, and there's a lot of people that I am friends with that are out there working and having a career in music, in any way that they choose. So
Hmm. Yeah. And so, I mean, bottom line is, just even though you might not make $1 million out of it, but if it makes you happy, just keep doing it.
and you have to keep going, you know.
Yeah. And
There's
it's
gonna be those
something,
down times.
yeah. And I follow Pinterest and I always see these tips on how you can make money on the side. I see a bunch of them every time I go on there, but there was one that caught my eye, how you can get this type of income here and there. One, you have your main job. Two, you have a side job. And then I forget what it all said, but then one of them was said, do a side job that's like your hobby or makes you happy. So, and yeah, I did have a job lined up, a side job where I could help set up shows at the Denny Sanford Premier Center. But unfortunately, I had to put that on hold because right now I am on medical leave from my main job. I've got a spinal bulge in my neck,
Oh, no.
unfortunately. Yeah, so I've been going to physical therapy for the last 2 months. So yeah, that was kind of a bummer not being able to help set up all these amazing shows. I used to do that back in Bismarck, North Dakota at the event center, and that was awesome. And all the free shows I got to see, like Toby Keith, Sugarland, or yeah, all the amazing
All of
shows I
them.
got to put on.
I
Yeah,
have a friend who, it used to be called the Rose Garden in Portland. I think it's the Moda Center now, or some other
yeah,
corporate sponsor, but she did that for years. She was part of the union and got to do a bunch of shows and setting up. But it's hard work.
it is.
And it's usually not worth a ton of money.
Yeah, I mean it's especially a little bit stressful when you have to deal with people in wardrobe, the people in charge of wardrobe. I one time had to help in wardrobe and these ladies in charge were like total divas.
And it doesn't seem like that would clash well with your personality, just from the few minutes we've spent together today.
No, no, it was hard, trying to keep up with them and try not to get on their bad side, but in a way I kind of understood why they were like that because everything's got to be perfect for the
Right.
show, So I kind of like gave them the benefit of the doubt and just did the best I could, stayed as polite as possible to them, and we were able to have a little short conversation here and there while I was fixing their clothes.
Well, that's so fun. So how long have you guys been in Sioux Falls now?
We've been here since May.
Okay, so you're still really, really new.
Yeah, but I've been loving it so far. Well, we've been loving it so far. Um, it's Sioux Falls like has got a lot of eclectic things you can do.
Well, it has a burgeoning art scene, right? There's a lot of
Yes.
arts. They're really embracing that. I've had the
Mhm.
fortune to work in the Denny Sanford Premier Center with the podcast. We covered the Cinch playoffs last September. We were actually just there watching a hockey game last Friday,
Yeah.
which was so much fun. The kids won kids captains tickets, so they got to say, "Let's play hockey" before the game, and then they gave us seats right on the glass. We had an awesome time. I love sports. I love events. We're just trying to to provide a space to talk more about them, right? There's so little media in Sioux Falls and in South Dakota in general. There's pretty much one company that owns half of the TV stations, and then there's another company that owns the other half. So, you have so very little ins to the media world. That's kind of where we started. When I released the song last February, our song Triple Fine, I got on, I was very fortunate. A shout out to Bailey at Dakota News Now. She got us on her morning show, and let us kind of talk about the things that we were doing. But that was like, okay, that's one time, and then that's it. And I did my friend's podcast and this other one, and I was like, I should be doing this, right? I should be talking to people and putting this out there with my network that I have, already paying attention. We just need to have more conversations, and that's kind of where this all sprung up, very organically. And we just kept going and just kept going. And then before, the end of the year, we had 100 episodes, and which for most podcasters is like this huge milestone. I was like, we did that almost asleep. We almost did that not even knowing what we were doing. And one thing that a show within our show is called the Songwriter Showcase, where we bring a songwriter on stage with us. We interview them a little bit, and then we let them perform some of their songs that now get to go out to our wider audience. And that is really kind of the lifeblood of what the Scene projects is becoming. But then conversations like this, they all become some kind of like an inside tip or something you didn't know. And it's very, I don't think I've had one where it's just been like, oh, well, nice to meet you, Sierra. Thanks for telling us about yourself, and see you later. Like, there's always some value that comes out of these conversations. And that's what's keeping us going, is just having conversations that lead somewhere.
Yeah. And you never know whatever you're trying, like what you said, for example, you throughout the years of you trying to figure out what you can do art wise, and now look what you're doing. You come to realize that you are making a huge difference and you're a pro at podcasting.
Which, yeah, who would have told me? If you would have told anyone in my life growing up that I was going to figure out how to get paid for running my mouth, they would have all said, yeah, that sounds like Bubba. And
Yeah.
I was very, very grateful in 2024 to have found this and to just keep going. Now the pedal's down to the floor, right? We've been throwing out the Zoom link and all the different Facebook groups of musicians that we're friends with. Everybody, your ex-fiance's situation is not any different from any of the rest of us. We all want to be famous. I went to Monday Night Football in Minnesota a few weeks ago. And I've always said, like, I'm not doing this to be Luke Combs, and I don't even know what I would do with that. And then watching that game and watching Justin Jefferson run out on the field to 70,000 people, I was like, yeah, I want that. And I don't want that just for me. I want that for Sierra. I want that for Mark Joseph. I want that for all of my friends, and to ride this thing as far as it's going to take us. And if it takes us to, main stage at US Bank, I'm here for that. We just interviewed our friend Steven Dramalski. He played he's the leader of Sundown 47. They opened for Zach Bryan at US Bank last summer. So now in my head is like, we are one step away from that being a reality for us. Let's put the hammer down and let's get this thing done so that we can bring everybody with us, right? I'm always the guy standing at the door, even if it's a big event, holding the door for people to get in. It's the same thing now.
Yep.
So Sierra, what do you hope to accomplish in 2025 with your songwriting? You reached out to me because you wanted to be part of our community, not necessarily part of the podcast today, but just to kind of know a little bit more about our community. What are the goals that are kind of underlying this this mission?
Well, just take my time, no pressure, to hopefully find a new friend that could be my music accompaniment for when I want to sing for open mic night. Because I love to sing. Singing is like my therapy, along with other kinds of therapies I like. But yeah.
Well, I will tell you every Thursday, and for all of our listeners as well, if you're in the Sioux Falls area, every single Thursday, we host one of our Songwriter Showcase episodes at The Den in Sioux Falls. And The Den is out by the Denny. It's right next door to the Birdcage out there. You wouldn't know, but for all of the Sioux Fallsites, it used to be the old B-Dubs. Same owners, but they turned it into a little bit of a rock club, and we've been helping them build a name out there. And they have allowed us to have this night. It's going on like 4 or 5 months now. We've been doing it, but there's a community of artists that are starting to gather around that. And we're talking about making it more of not necessarily an open mic, but round table, getting more discussions, getting more people in the door, and getting musicians together, because that community of musicians matters. There's a lot of people out there inside of our group that don't write songs and they don't sing, but they're fantastic musicians. And I think you're going to find somewhere to land very, very soon, Sierra.
That sounds awesome.
Well, I really appreciate you jumping on today. You didn't know you were going to be on a podcast until we started going. So I appreciate your bravery. You're very courageous. I love your story. I think you have a lot of value to bring to our community and to the spouses of some of these songwriters and people as well, to show the other side of that coin, and to let them know that they're not crazy for wanting to be a little rooted in reality, right? I have a lot of big dreams, right? I'm chasing a lot of big things. And if I didn't have my wife to go, yeah, but how are we going to pay the light bill this month? I might not think of it at all. So it's important to have balance, right? And sometimes that balance is a person in your life. Sometimes we got to find that balance within us as well. So I think you touched on some really cool value points for us today.
Thank you. Can I add a couple more things?
Yeah, jump in.
So another thing about, making income, I got to have income because I'm actually one of these people who invests in fabulous skincare products. I like to try to, take good care of my face as much as possible, though I have days where I miss a night or two to not take care of my face. But I like to invest in the good stuff to live a good life. So you know what? We got to have income if you want to have fabulous skincare products.
Well, and finding how to sell those products possibly to offset the cost of them is maybe, we talked a lot about side hustles.
Yeah.
One more point, Sierra. It's all you.
Bottom line is I'm kind of a high maintenance girl. So yeah, I got to have some income. And lastly, can I introduce you to my dog again?
Yes, I would love that.
Come here, Amarillo. Come here. Here he is.
Oh my goodness. Amarillo, welcome to the show.
He's a mama's boy.
We just got a cat over Halloween, and I saw a whole new side of my wife after that little kitten came home.
Yeah.
And it softened her hard edges a little bit. I'm like, oh, you're going to be she's been raising with me my 3 kids, but she doesn't have one that she's birthed her own, right? I mean, my kids are her kids, but to see her with the cat is going to be like, oh, you're going to be a real different person once you have a baby as well. So,
one more thing. Come here, hon. Come here. I want to do one more to my husband.
Awesome.
Hello.
This is my husband, Tyler. Just thought I should introduce you to him.
Hello.
Tyler, well, thanks for letting us borrow your wife for a few minutes here. She had high praises to sing of you and your support of her music and her career. And you're just as important to the scene as anyone else is. So we appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Sierra and Tyler, thank you so much for being a part of the scene.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Scene Projects Podcast Network. We appreciate you listening. You can find more at thesceneprojects.com. Join our community. Got an ocean full of love that's made for two. We sail upon the ocean breeze and sunshine feels like you loving me.